Today we check out the longest running Greek Grand Prix team.
And later in sports, we look at the journey a trio of Boilermakers will take on their way to the NBA Draft Combine.
And a report on the developing story of shots fired here in West Lafayette over the weekend.
We've had a couple of thunderstorms pass through our area already today, and we'll continue to see these scattered thunderstorms throughout the rest of tonight.
Fast Track Live starts now. Welcome to Fast Track Live. We are coming to you live from the Fast Track Studios, brought to you by the Brian Lamb School of Communication. I'm Sarah Cohen alongside Dakota Simon.
Purdue students woke up Sunday morning with an alert from Purdue Emergency System stating that shots have been fired on campus earlier that morning. The emergency alert system has been used frequently in the past, and our own Trevor Peters takes us to the scene and also caught up with Police Chief John Cox about the emergency text system.
At 3:25 a.m. early on Sunday morning, a note was sent out to the Purdue Emergency Text System indicating that there have been shots fired in the 200 block of Wiggins Street at the house you can see directly behind me. Now, while West Lafayette police are unable to confirm the names of the shooter or the victim, multiple student and media sources indicate that the victim in the shooting is Andy Shelf, a sophomore on the Purdue football roster. Now, the question the students are asking is why there wasn't a follow-up message sent out after the initial one, similar that there had been in past situations.
When we have incidents that are near campus or non-campus properties, we send our shift commanders over to the scene in the moment to determine if there is any sort of ongoing threat to the campus community. So for example, in this particular case, we were informed that the individual or individuals that were still at large were last seen heading southwest from the 200 block of Wiggins Avenue. That would put them in a direct line towards campus.
The text was in response to a report of a shooting at 201 Wiggins Street and in a release from the West Lafayette Police Department. It notes a male, now identified as Chelf, was suffering from a gunshot wound to the torso when police arrived. On his Twitter, Chelf tweeted, quote, "Blessed to see another day. Don't take things for granted," end quote. Chelf's status on the team and his current situation is unknown, but West Lafayette police are investigating with no arrests being currently made. As for the emergency alert system and why a follow-up was not sent, Chief Cox says that the threat settled down and there was no way of knowing 100% for sure.
We can't really tell you, go resume normal business or all is okay. It's not our investigation. The shooter's still at large. Therefore, we don't really have that ability to do that. At the time, it appeared it might be an ongoing threat to the campus community. Clearly, after that first hour, when things had settled down and they were starting to get a handle on and talking to witnesses, the threat could have been long gone by then. However, we have no way of knowing that for sure.
Trevor Peters, Fast Track News.
The full interview with Chief Cox will be available on the Fast Track Live YouTube channel and Facebook page if you would like to learn more about the emergency text system.
This past Thursday, President Mitch Daniels sent an email to all Purdue students announcing Provost Debra Dutta as the new Chancellor of Rutgers University. President Daniels began the email with, quote, "It is with very mixed emotions that I let you know one of the upcoming departure of one of our finest senior leaders," end quote. Dutta will remain Provost of Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Diversity through June 30th. Dutta says he is grateful and appreciates all support he's been receiving. Now we'll check in with Sheena for the weather.
And now, Fast Track Sheena Steffen with your weather update.
Some of you may have been caught in the rain earlier today, and unfortunately those thunderstorms will still continue to come through our area. Right now we had some hail earlier this morning in the first severe thunderstorm, and we have a picture brought to you by Allison Loy of the hail that fell just south of Lafayette. Hail like this could just cause minor damage to vehicles or hazards on the sidewalk if you're walking, but very cool picture. Glad she sent it in to us. Current conditions right now, we're seeing a temperature around 71. We've had a lot of high temperatures right now, which is very nice to see, but we are having strong winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, a high around 72 today, and we'll see a low around 53 tonight. As we carry on and look at the surface map, you can see that right now there's a lot of low pressure systems scattered out throughout the area, one up north, some down in Texas, and then one right over our area, bringing us that rain in the clouds for most of tonight. As we go ahead and look closer, you can see that cold front just over to the west of us. That'll carry over throughout tonight and into tomorrow, bringing us clear skies. And then tonight, temperatures in the mid-60s, and then carrying on into Tuesday, clear skies. So I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy this warm weather. I'll be back with you with the weekend forecast.
After the break, we take a look in the 2017 Bug Bowl and the upcoming Grand Prix events. Stay with us.
The new statue outside of Stone Hall, the entomologist, was dedicated on Saturday at the Purdue 27th Annual Bug Bowl. The two-day event continues to draw around 30,000 people annually. Events include a cricket spitting contest and cockroach racing. The Bug Bowl shares this weekend with the Purdue School of Agriculture, where attendees can learn various aspects of farm life. The events and activities took place all over campus and Purdue Memorial Mall to promote higher education of arts, agriculture, animals, and much more.
Grand Prix is one of the longest standing traditions at Purdue. With less than 2 weeks away before race day, teams are gearing up. Our own Molly Shaughnessy took a look into the Grand Prix kart making process.
With less than 2 weeks away from the 60th anniversary of Purdue Grand Prix, one chapter on campus takes the greatest spectacle in college racing to a whole other level with its $150,000 two-story Grand Prix garage. Sigma Chi starts the kart making process in August and works throughout the school year.
The process is we have to buy the chassis for the carts, and from then on out we do the outfit for the whole cart. We put on the tires, brakes, the clutch, the engine, and we fit everything to the requirements and specifications of Grand Prix. And then from there we tweak it to where we can find the fastest lap times with the drivers. Outside of that, we also have to fab the cages and make the cages to the requirements. And that in itself, the cages took us 2 to 3 months just making the design, putting it together, and then finally getting the welds together and putting it mounting them on the carts themselves.
Sigma Chi's racing has had a long-standing tradition. Senior crew member Chuck Carpenter says what makes their tradition so special.
One of the coolest things that are a part of our team, or for Sigma Chi, is that we're the only team that has run a kart, and we're now running 2 karts since the beginning of Grand Prix, every single race.
Last year, Sigma Chi started the race in 28th place. By the end of the race, they moved up 23 spots to 5th. This year, they're hoping to win big.
If we start in the top 10, I think we can get that 1 or 2 spot.
Reporting from Sigma Chi, Molly Shaughnessy, Fast Track Live.
This week is Mental Health Awareness Week put on by Boilers Supporting Boilers. The organization will be in Memorial Mall and near Beering Fountain to help promote students' well-being. Their aim is for Boilermakers of all backgrounds to feel supported, valued, and at home while enrolled at Purdue.
Boilers Supporting Boilers is a student-led, staff-supported organization, and our goal is to try to cultivate this culture where Boilermakers of all backgrounds feel supported, valued, and really at home.
This Saturday, April 15th, Purdue University will host the first ever Collegiate Drone Racing National Championship. Students from Purdue have built and tested their own drones. Purdue will host various universities from across the country at the Gold Intramural Fields here on campus. The event will be free and open to the public and will run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Students and the public that are interested in this event but are unable to make it can watch the live stream at fpvlive.tv.
This past week, 3 Purdue students, Eric Kowalski, Kristen Morey, and Andy Eggert, took part in the ESPN Bracket Genius Challenge. The students who are part of the Sports Analytics Club here at Purdue qualified for the trivia event that was hosted by ESPN anchor Trey Wingo. Purdue won the event in its final round and were rewarded with $100,000 that they plan on splitting 3 ways.
On ESPN to be on a game show, and then to win was just, something really cool on top of that.
I'm joined by Sports Director Tommy Barrett. Tommy, there's a lot been going on in sports this weekend with football and baseball getting underway here in West Lafayette.
Yeah, big weekend for Jeff Brahman and his Purdue Boilermaker football team. They had their spring game at Ross-Ade, and the Indiana Hoosiers were in town to take on the Purdue Boilermakers for a best-of-3 series. All that and more when we come back.
And now, Fast Track's Tommy Barrett with their sports update.
Welcome, everybody. Tommy Barrett here at the Sports Desk. For the second straight season, Caleb Swanigan and Vincent Edwards will enter their names in the NBA draft. Both players will not hire an agent, leaving the door open for a possible return to the program. Swanigan averaged 18.5 points and 12.5 rebounds, and while Vincent Edwards averaged 12.6 points and 4.9 rebounds per game. Both players will have the chance to be evaluated by NBA scouts before deciding whether to stay in the draft or opt to return for Purdue for another year. Swanigan and Edwards each tested the waters last spring, then opted to return for the 2016-2017 season. Also today, Isaac Haas announced that he will also enter the NBA draft, but will not hire an agent as well. Haas averaged 12.6 points per game as a junior. All three Boilermakers have to say what they're going to do before May 24th. Whether they will return or not, that will be unknown. Staying on the court, assistant video coordinator Kenneth Lowe announced today that on Twitter he will be joining former Boilermaker coach Jack Owens at the University of Miami of Ohio. Lowe played for the Boilermakers from 2000 to 2004. He was named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in both 2003 and 2004. Lowe had spent the previous 4 seasons working as the assistant video coordinator for head coach Matt Painter. Members of the Purdue men's club basketball team are officially national champions after the NCBBA tournament over the weekend. Purdue was able to turn their at-large bid into the tournament into a national title as they came back from a 10-point halftime deficit to defeat the Pittsburgh 80-75. JT Thomas would take home MVP honors with his impressive performance during the national championship tournament game after a 37-point game. The Boilermakers trailed by 12 points with 13 minutes to play and made an incredible comeback in the final minutes to claim their first ever national championship right here at Purdue. Mike Montgomery tallied 14 points to help carry the load for the Boilermakers. Congratulations to them on a great season. Purdue fans have been anxiously waiting for the return of football in Ross-Ade Stadium, and on Saturday, new head coach Jeff Brom led the Boilermakers in his first ever spring game. This game was a scrimmage format with the offense scoring against the defense. A modified scoring system was allowed for both offense and defense to have the ability to score some points. Let's check out the highlights from Ross-Ade. The offense had the traditional scoring system, while the defense scored off of defensive stops, 3 and outs, turnovers, and safeties, as well as defensive touchdowns. And the Boilermakers really got it going on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense won the game 45-30. David Blau was 14 for 22 with a touchdown and no interceptions and 192 yards. Elijah Sindelier was 14 for 25, 177 yards, while Jared Sparks was 9 of 18 for 106 yards and a touchdown and an interception. On the defensive side of the ball, they earned 14 points off 7 defensive stops while getting 5 3-and-outs for 15 points, 2 turnovers for 10 points. And Jeff Brom said that we learned a lot this spring and that the entire spring practice was productive. We got better and we found out what we can and can't do. First game of the year will be the 2nd of September against reigning Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson. And that's it right there. The Boilermakers coming back on a great spring. Last one, Purdue women's golf. Junior Marta Martin put forth her 2nd straight dominant performance Sunday to lead the Purdue women's golf team to a win over the number 11 South Carolina Gamecocks and in the black bracket title at the 45th annual Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic hosted by Georgia at UGA Golf Course. The Boilermakers and Gamecocks were tied at before Martin's 7-5 victory secured the tie, breaking the criteria for Purdue, which was swept the black bracket and the Liz Murphy for the 2nd time in the last 3 seasons. The Boilermaker baseball team hosted the Indiana Hoosiers for a 3-game series against their in-state rival Indiana, and this weekend, and Purdue came away with a pair of victories to take the 2-1 win on Friday. The Boilermakers used a 4-run 8th inning to top the Hoosiers 6-5. First baseman Jackson McGowan led the Boilermakers, going 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Saturday, it was Logan Poisel and Evan Warden delivering 2 home runs, and the Boilermakers clinched their 5th straight series against the Indiana Hoosiers with a 7-3 victory. Purdue fell in the 3rd game, but on Sunday, losing 14-9, but improved their record to 17-14 on the year, 5-4 in Big Ten play, and they're back in action on the road on Tuesday against the Louisville Cardinals, number 2 in the nation, Dakota.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one this Tuesday against Louisville. They've had a great season, but it's really great to see baseball back at Alexander Field. And football's back in Ross-Ade, new era with Jeff Brom. Hopefully we can see some good things coming forward in this upcoming season.
Yep, that's all we have for sports. I'll see you next week.
And now, Fast Track Sheena Steffen with your weather update.
As I mentioned earlier, we are going to see more rain tonight, but the rest of the week looks pretty mild and we'll have clear skies for most of the week. Moving on into the weekend, we have Easter this Sunday. Friday, we're going to have a temperature, a high around 70 and a low around 55. Mostly clear skies, a few clouds here and there. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're expected to see more rain once again. Saturday, a high in the mid-70s and a low around 58. Carrying on into Sunday, a high around 69 and a low around 45. So if you plan on having any Easter events outside, looking for eggs, you might have to move it inside because you might have some showers on Sunday. As we go ahead and look at the lows, majority of the areas are in the 50s, and then the highs tomorrow will be up in the lower 60s. And go ahead and look at your 7-day forecast. That's all I have for your current conditions. I'll toss it back over to you guys.
Thanks, Sheena. This past weekend at Purdue was busy for the Boilermakers, including the 2017 Haraka Fest hosted by the Black Cultural Center. Fast Track's Ryan Nally attended the annual cultural event.
On Friday and Saturday, the Haraka Riders Ensemble put on a show entitled Radical Melanated Love, when love is a revolutionary act in an unloving society. Director and artist-in-residence Kahari Bowden says he was inspired to counter the divisive societal environment brought on from the election.
Not to necessarily address it, but to counter that, where there's so much hate and fear being spread, we can do our work to uplift love.
Bowden says that radical love is a statement with a touch of irony.
Love becomes a radical thing because so many people are distracted. So many people are caught up on the fear, caught up on the hate, and otherwise occupied.
The Haraka Riders use Bowden's message to influence their own original work.
All of these things we're saying, even though we're saying, yes, radical, melanated love, every person in the world needs to be doing these things that we're saying.
Of course, love is universal. It's this universal vibration, universal energy. So spreading that, even inward, reflects outward. And that's for everybody. That's not just for people of color. That's just not for the majority of students at Purdue, but that's for everyone.
For Latrice Young, Bowden has challenged her own thinking and creativity.
It's just very educational, eye-opening, and I feel alive working with him. Yeah, and safe.
Reporting from the BCC, Ryan Nally, Fast Track Live.
A COM 114 class is collecting new and gently used pillowcases for an organization called Little Dresses for Africa. This is a nonprofit that provides support to struggling countries in Africa by donating money and dresses made from pillowcases. Jessica Snitko will be collecting pillowcases this week up until Thursday evening in Beering 2153.
The Purdue Day of Giving will take place on April 26th. In the weeks to come, we will give you updates on how to donate to programs across Purdue, including the Communications Department. In the meantime, you can check out the Purdue Day of Giving website right here.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of Fast Track Live. I'm Sarah Cohen.
And I'm Dakota Simon. For more up-to-date info on Purdue weather, sports, and more, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter throughout the week. Have a good night, and we'll see you next Monday.